Hey, y'all. Welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast, your unofficial guide through Disney World memories and their connections to the parks we know and love today. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dewey, and this is episode number 8, titled Review of the TPMVids Top 10 Worst Rides in Walt Disney World. Do you agree or disagree? With me today are my podcast travel buddies, Ron and Tony. How's it going, Ron?
It's going great. I'm looking forward to hearing this list. We've not heard it, so we get to make on-the-spot decisions. So I'm looking forward to this episode.
That's right. And if Ron is famous for one thing, it's making up things quickly on the fly. He's really quick like that. So this should be highly entertaining today. And also got my buddy Tony G today. What's going on, Tony?
Hey, what's going on, Dewey and Ron? Just saying good morning on this Walt Disney World 50th celebration weekend.
Yes, sir. So, all right, guys. So today we're going to try something a little bit different for our primary segment of this week's show. As you guys know, obviously, we're doing a podcast about Walt Disney World every week. So we're obviously big Disney World fans. We spend a lot of time watching the content that many of you create about our favorite magical theme parks. We don't see the other YouTube channels or Disney podcasts as competition, though. We love all the content. With that in mind, I recently came across a great video on one of my favorite YouTube channels, TPMVids, and we wanted to talk about that episode today. In the video, TPMVids compiled a list of the top 10 worst rides in Walt Disney World, based on feedback from their viewers. And we thought it'd be fun to use their list and see if we agree or disagree with what's on that list. If you've seen the video, it'll be fun for y'all to play along with this. If you haven't seen it yet, we highly recommend the video and specifically to this video, but more in general, just all the TPM videos, and they are just great. They have great content, lots of entertaining stuff. So you should definitely check out the video. And you should definitely check out their channel. Tons of great stuff. All right, so here we go. The number 10 worst ride in Walt Disney World, according to the viewers of the TPMVids YouTube channel, is Primeval Whirl. So Primeval Whirl in Animal Kingdom. Now we know it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
I just read that.
They've actually the ride vehicles left about a year ago, but the track and everything has still been there sitting vacant. It's actually, they just started removing pieces of the track last week. Primeval Whirl and Disney's Animal Kingdom, they say too much spinning and that the track has become too rough with age. So over in Disney's Animal Kingdom Dino-Rama land, what do you guys think? Is Primeval Whirl deserving of the number 10 spot? Would it be on your worst ride top 10 list? We'll go with you first, Ron.
No, I can't believe it's on there. I love that ride. I really love it. Was one, as a matter of fact, it's the only ride that was worth to Dino Land in the first place to go to. I can't believe that's on there. This may be a bad list for me.
It might be a bad list for. Did you say Dino Land? Like Dino from the Flintstones?
Dino Land, whatever you want. I call it Dino Land. Yes.
All right. For the rest of this episode, I'm going to refer to you as Bam Bam. All right. So Ron says no, absolutely not. The Primeval Whirl should not be in the top 10 worst rides in Disney World. What about you, Tony? Are you familiar with Primeval Whirl?
I am familiar with it. I did, honestly, I never liked the way that area looked. I thought it looked kind of cheap and amusement parky. It was because we've got this beautiful classic Disney work on the rest of Animal Kingdom, and then you've got this amusement park just shoved in on the side of Dino Land. I never really of the dinosaur ride. I never really liked the way that looked. So I'm okay with that being on the list. I always felt that was just didn't belong there. But is that it was more of a kiddie area, I think, right? At least that's what I associated it with.
Now, listen, you guys know that you're right. It is, kind of cheesy and like a roadside what would it be called? A roadside attraction.
Yeah.
That's actually the theme. The idea was that it was modeled after some of the cheesy roadside attractions you see along Route 66.
But why in the
And
middle of Animal Kingdom?
just that was just the theme. It was almost like if you're traveling on Route 66 and you see the world's largest ball of yarn or whatever, you know, those kinds of things. That's the idea.
That makes no sense with the theme to me.
I'm only reporting what I know. I'm not defending the Imagineers or vice versa. I'm just telling you, that's the story.
Dollywood has a very similar kiddie area. I kind of agree with you, Tony. It felt very kiddie ride-ish to me, and Dollywood has the same similar area that's themed exactly the same, and I was not a fan either, but I love I can't say the name of that roller coaster. Say that again, the one that's on the list, Dewey.
Primeval Whirl.
Yes, I can't say it, but I actually enjoyed that ride a lot. It's one of the rides that we rode with our daughters, and they loved that it spun and was a roller coaster at the same time.
The idea was that it was a wild mouse kind of coaster at a roadside attraction, and, you know, somewhere along Route 66. It's kind of that thing.
But why would Route 66 be in the middle of Africa? I don't understand this.
Well, but it's not Africa. Think
or
it's
whatever.
Just like Magic Kingdom. You've got Fantasyland and Tomorrowland and Adventureland. Those don't tie together, but as a collective, they are, you know, Magic Kingdom. Kind of the same thing. You've got Africa, you've got Asia.
True.
You've got, you know, the Oasis
and Route 66.
And, you know,
it takes you there.
Dino, not Dino Land. Dino Land. I liked Primeval Whirl probably, you know, 10 years ago or so, but I think I've mentioned to you guys before, as I've gotten a little bit older, anything that spins gives me an instant migraine. So I used to ride it every single trip. My daughter absolutely loved it, but that's number 10. So we've got a no from Ron and a probably yes from Tony. And I'll probably say it's the 15th worst. I'm just going to throw a number out there. All right, so here we go. And you guys are going to know my answer to this one. So number 9, worst Disney attractions at Walt Disney World, according to the viewers of TPMVids, is It's a Small World. It's a Small World is listed as the number 9 worst attraction in Walt Disney World. So their reasons were creepy dolls stare into your soul. That's pretty funny.
You didn't write this, Dewey?
I didn't write this. This sounds exactly like something I would have said. Creepy dolls stare into your soul. That's hilarious. And the song repeats over and over, and that is in like all caps. That was a big part. So that's number 9. So Tony, we'll go with you first. What do you think? Is It's a Small World deserving of being the number 9 worst attraction in Walt Disney World?
Not for me. It's a Small World for me is one of the classics. I mean, Disney himself was there and helped build it. It came from New York's World's Fair, and it represents the world. I mean, those dolls I think are amazing to look at even to this day. I do agree it's probably a little bit long, and but that song, even though it repeats, it's in many different languages, so I don't have a problem with it. I remember writing it with my little niece and watching her sing along and bop along to it. I think it's a fun boat ride. We always tend to try to see it whenever we can. And I will add, though, I'm dying to see the revamped version at Disneyland, because when I went to the original Disneyland attraction, I found that one to be much better than the one in Disney World. But now I understand they've incorporated slightly some of the classic Disney characters throughout it. So I think that sounds kind of fun. But no, it's not on my worst list.
All right, so it's a no from Tony. What you got, Ron? Is It's a Small World on your list?
You know, it's once you've wrote it, I've wrote it. It's hard for me to put on the list because of Walt Disney's direct involvement with that ride. I understand how it made the list, but no, it wouldn't be on my list of top 10 worst Disney rides. I mean, it's a Disney created ride, and people love it. I don't know why they love it, but they love it. And it would, so no, it would not be on my list.
All right. So that's 2 no's. Neither one of you would put it on your top 10 worst attractions. I'm split on this one because yes, the Sherman Brothers wrote the song, and I absolutely love the Sherman Brothers. I don't think they've ever written a bad song. Walt Disney was directly involved. This is from the World's Fair of 1964. It was, groundbreaking. So all of those things make me want to love it. And then my kids, when we first started taking my kids, my son was probably 8 months old the first time he went. Couldn't even walk yet. He was still in a stroller and stuff. And same thing with my daughter. They absolutely loved it when they were little. We used to do it probably 3 or 4 times a trip when they were small, just because they loved the music and everything. So for those reasons, it's hard to hate it. But man, as much as I love the Sherman Brothers, that song is what they call an earworm. Like, you cannot escape it. It stays in your head for like 3 days. It's
Do you have
painful.
a clip? So do you have a clip of it, Dewey? So
Here, I'll sing it for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to.
It's actually in all of our heads right now, and all of your heads out there.
It probably is. It's hard. You can't escape it. You cannot get away from it. Even if you ride it and then you go get on Pirates later, even though Pirates is an earworm, Small World is still there. You can't get rid of it. And I agree with Tony too. It might be a little too long. Maybe if it was a 7 or 8 minute attraction or something. I feel like that thing's 42 minutes long. I don't know how long it is, but it to me, when I'm on it, it feels like it's longer than Ellen's Energy Adventure was. It just seems like it takes forever. I know when I get to, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, well, that's what's good. Sometimes when you need a rest from walking around the park or doing something around the park, you can just go in there and fall asleep if you want to.
I know that my kids, when they were little, they always used to joke, because I always said, oh, here's my favorite part of the ride. And it would be the end where it's like, adios, arrivederci, or all that. So as they were, growing up at 7 or 8 years old, they would always say, hey, Dad, look at your favorite part. And I'm like, yes, it is. So
it's 13 minutes long, Dewey.
There is no way that thing is 13 minutes long. It is at least double that. There's no way. The's no way. Holy smokes. I'm glad you looked it up. It's got to be a mistake. It seems so much longer than that. So I think it would probably be on my top 10 worst. Just because there's so many good things at Disney, it probably does make my top 10 worst. Not to say that it's horrible or anything. It probably would be on my list if I created a list. So yeah, those creepy dolls do stare into your soul. That is true.
I like the line. That is true.
All right. And there's pictures of us from old trips and stuff where, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been from an MHM dare or something, Ron. I don't remember, but there's pictures of me. I'm almost certain it was from one of those double dog dares or whatever we used to do. There's a picture of me on It's a Small World, and I'm doing like the Macaulay Culkin or something. I'm like, because I'm scared. It's on my list probably. All right, so here we go. Number 8, worst Walt Disney World attractions. Back over in Animal Kingdom again. Cali River Rapids. So what their complaints were about this is that it's too short, and then they said, that's it? Like, that's all there is? That's all the ride is? And not enough details, and that it was much smaller than originally planned. So that's some of the comments from the TPMVids video. What do you guys think? Is number 8, Cali River Rapids, is that too harsh? Is it on your list? Or do you love it and think they're crazy for putting it on there? How about you, Ryan? We'll go back to you.
I can see why that's on the list. I would not have it on my list. It is shorter than most of those types of rides. And normally one person on that type of ride really gets soaked. The rest of the people get
sprinkled.
Yeah, spring. Yeah. So, I mean, it gives what I'm expecting, but from a Disney themed ride and what Disney offers, I can see this being on my list. So, yes, I agree with that one.
How about you, Tony? Is Cali River Rapids on your top 10 worst attractions list?
It's not. I'm beginning to wonder what is on my top 10 worst attractions list. No, I used to love Cali River Rapids. In fact, we used to wake up early when we stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. We first ride that we do is one of these. We either do the safari or do Cali River Rapids because it was refreshing. I tend to like those kind of raft rides. I come from a much more of an urban area, so for me to be in like and something that floats like that is always kind of cool. I like it in the water parks, and there was one at Six Flags. It's very similar to this. It's a lot longer, but I never really noticed that ride was too short. There's always that fear that you're going to get soaked in it. As I mentioned, there's one similar, the grizzly bear thing over at Disneyland is similar to this. I like those kind of rides. So no, it's not on my list.
I've watched a thing, something on YouTube somewhere that was about Cali River Rapids, and it talked about the original plan, and it was supposed to be at least double the length. It was supposed to be a lot longer. It was supposed to have several scenes, and really the only scene that we have now is the logging scene where they're chopping down all the trees, and the truck is, the logging truck is hanging off the side of the bank of the river and stuff. That's the only scene we got. So I can kind of get where there's some questions about what the theme is or what the story is they're trying to tell. There was supposed to be more to it, and that classic attraction killer, the budget is always what happens, and they have to shorten it or take away some elements and stuff. So it's not what it was supposed to be. I still love this ride. My daughter and I ride it almost every time we go. If it's in the summertime, we definitely ride it.
It's definitely a summer attraction.
For sure. You don't mind getting wet when it's super hot Florida day. This definitely is not on my top 10 worst attractions. Could it be better? Could it be longer? Sure. But definitely not on my list of worst attractions at Disney World. We always have a lot of fun.
It's been a long time for me, but is that the one that also had like a wood burning or wood smell to it?
Yes, the part that we got with the storyline is that they're bad guys all around the world are cutting down the rainforests and stuff. So it's kind of an anti-rainforest killer kind of story. And so that's it. It's got, you hear chainsaws going off in the background, and you see there's some fire and stuff. So yeah, that's what it's about. It's about, save the rainforests.
You just reminded me also, it's always so, Animal Kingdom seems to be the hottest park of all of them. Every time I've ever been there.
I agree 100% with that.
So it's always a nice refresher to
absolutely. Yeah, it is hot there. They always talk about all the plants and stuff that were added to make it, look like a lush tropical, or like the Serengeti or all those things. They had to create all of that. So lots of plants, lots of coverage, and it holds in some of the heat. So it is nice and refreshing. This is not on my top 10 list of worst things at Disney World for sure. All right, guys. So what was that? I think that was, Tony was a no. Ron, what did you say? You said no?
Oh, yeah, I said yes.
Oh, you said yes. So he understands. So I say no also. So, okay, very good. So let's see, number 7. This one will be fun. Number 7 is The Seas with Nemo and Friends over at Epcot Center. The Seas with Nemo and Friends. The reasons for it being on this list from the TPMVids listeners was the videos. It's all videos of Nemo and Friends, no animatronics. So it's all those projections, no animatronics. So what do you think? Tony, we'll go with you first. The Seas with Nemo and Friends, is it on your top 10 list of worst attractions at Disney World?
Again, I don't necessarily think so. I think it was a fun addition to the park when it premiered. It was a neat thing to see the characters behind the tank there. I think, don't they interact with the real fish? I'm trying to remember this. Aren't there real fish still behind the tanks there?
It is. They project the Nemo characters,
right,
literally against the glass. You're looking out the glass, right. You see the aquarium.
I think that's cool. That's awesome. And I remember even the queue area was kind of fun because you felt as if you were underneath the seas, and and the cars themselves were kind of fun. I like that one. It's not on my list.
So Tony says no, it's not on his list. Ron, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, this is not on my list at all. It doesn't even come close. I remember when they opened this ride, and you're right, Tony, the cars are shaped like seashells, and you ride through, and the technology at the time was cutting edge. And we one of our favorite family shots is in front of that ride, actually, because of how they themed it with Nemo and friends
and the seagulls in front.
Yeah. So
mine.
Definitely not on my list.
All right, this is going to be another one that I'm kind of torn on. I think Nemo is a fantastic movie. You know, Pixar so far has not made a bad one. Absolutely love the Pixar movies. Love Nemo. I like how they took, you know, the stage show over at Animal Kingdom for Nemo. That is fantastic. You know, the movie Nemo is not a musical, but in the musical stage show, they wrote, like in the Big Blue World and stuff like that, the music for the stage show is fantastic. I like how they brought that over, and that's the music that you hear on the ride. So that's super cool. But then the nostalgic Epcot Center lover in me remembers what the Living Seas was. And so really what happened was Nemo, with his one baby little tiny fin and his one normal sized fin, came in with a sledgehammer and destroyed the hydrolators. And Mr. Ray came in with a bulldozer and pushed out the theater where the deluge was shown. and then they cut the actual ride. It's like half as long as it was. You actually went through, do you guys remember in the original The Living Seas, you went through the tunnel in the ride, so you were you could see all around you.
Mm-hmm.
You were inside the aquarium. So my feelings on this is more about what they took away to give us the Seas with Nemo and Friends. They could have left some of those elements. They could have left us going through that tunnel. They could have left, you know, all of those things, hydrolators even. I don't know if that, maybe that just doesn't go with the theme or anything anymore, but they didn't have to take all that away. They could have just thrown those projections in there, and they could have thrown in the music from the stage show. And I have no problem with them throwing that in there, but they didn't have to take so much away. So it's definitely inferior to its previous incarnation. The Seas with Nemo and Friends is not as good as the Living Seas was. So that's without a shadow of a doubt. I'm glad once you get off the ride, the rest is kind of the same. You can still look through the aquarium and walk around, although the amazing, absolutely amazing music from the Living Seas is gone in the attraction. I still listen to that a lot. The music was so good. So I don't know if it's on my top 10 worst attractions. They kind of butchered it from the original. The Living Seas was so much better, and they kind of butchered it when they added Nemo and Friends. So I'm going to say it might be on my list. I'm probably going to agree with it here, because I'm going to agree with the TPMVids list, because I'm still mad of what they did to the Living Seas. So I'm going to say yes, it might be on the list. Maybe so.
There were some cool experiences in that, though, with the tentacles scene and the scene with the turtles. I think that was kind of cool. That was a nice way of quote unquote immersing you.
Yes. Well, if you think about it, and that's one of the things when they were talking about no animatronics, they talked about that there's not very many physical scenes. Everything is projections. And that was kind of their complaint. You do have a couple of little bouncy, what are they? The jellyfish, you know, that, you know, I remember from the movie. And then you've got the one scene where Bruce and the sharks are there, but Bruce is not an animatronic. Bruce is a projection. But you do have the swordfish with, I can't remember his name, but the swordfish, or not the swordfish, the shark that had the hook in his nose. It used to move in and out of that scene, that ship. It used to come in and out like he was poking his head out. And just like Disco Yeti, it stopped moving at some point, and Disney never fixed it. So it's just a static scene. So I can kind of see it, that there's a complaint there. It makes my list, I think, because of how wonderful the original The Living Seas was. I'm still mad at Epcot for taking away my hydrolators.
Oh.
I almost lost my mind when I saw number 6 is on this list. Let's see what you guys think. Number 6, Carousel of Progress. I am losing my mind right now. Carousel of Progress. They say it has maintenance issues. It's had poor upkeep. And I can't say I disagree with those things, but that's not the attraction's fault.
Right.
That is Disney leadership. I'm looking at you, Chapek. Disney leadership's fault. That's not the attraction's fault. And the last one is Act 4 is very out of date. So I'm not going to say I disagree with any of those complaints, because there have been some mishaps. I know that you guys, did you guys see the video? The dad, and I can't remember which. It's the scene, I don't know which era it is, but it's the scene where the dad is holding the Niagara Falls fan, and he's like fanning himself with it. So it must be from July or whatever, because it was hot. And there's a video of not the hand holding the fan, but the other hand fell off during one of the shows. So he's he's doing, it's like this, and you see the hand is just laying on the ground. He looks like like Captain Hook or something. And so, yes, there are some maintenance issues, but does that put it on your list? Ron, we'll start with you.
This one is not on my list, and I'm starting to think not much is going to be on my list. But no, this is again a Disney. He was directly involved with this attraction. It shows the progress of our nation and as man through technology. No, update it and fix the issues. I can't disagree with anything they listed as incorrect, but that doesn't make it the worst. It makes it the most needed maintenance. And maybe that should be, maybe we need to go down that list, but no, this is not on my list. This is one that if it's open, I'm riding it.
For sure. All right. Excellent, Ron. So Ron says no, not on his list. Tony, what do you say, sir?
I totally agree with everything that Ron said. And plus what you say all the time, Dewey, refurbish, not replace, because this is one of those rides that's got to remain there. Not only was it created by Walt, but also it kind of gives you the idea of what this was all about to begin with. It stemmed out of this World's Fair idea. And it's great to watch the progress of our country and of the world in that little skit. And it's an amazing show. It's got animatronics. It's got a revolving theater. I mean, how do you replace that? So no, that's a no for me. And this just reminded me of a possible what's your favorite. What do you guys remember when they changed the song from "There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow" to I think it was "The Best Time of Your Life"? And
now is the time.
Right.
Now is the best time. Yes.
I think that was what I first heard or something. I'm wondering which one of those two songs that you like the best. But I think another reason that Disney's keeping this ride, if you notice, a lot of podcasters who do Disney related stuff love either the theme or the saying "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow." I think podcasting and video casting has given that a whole new life, and it's the kind of thing that's attached to the park now. I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
Yes, Tony. Awesome. So it's a no for you. It's a no for you also.
Yeah.
Yes, the "Now is the Time" was actually the second theme song for the ride, for the attraction. When it was in the World's Fair in 1964, It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow was the song, and that was written by the Sherman Brothers and everything for the fair. And then after the World's Fair, they packed it up, shipped it to Disneyland, and it stayed at Disneyland for a decade. When they were opening Disney World, they realized, or after they had opened it, they realized that, hey, Tomorrowland is kind of empty. So they packed it up from Tomorrowland and Disneyland and sent it to Tomorrowland and Disney World. GE said, hey, great idea, but if you want us to keep sponsoring this thing, we're going to need you to update it. We don't want it to talk about the future anymore. We want to use this to sell our products right now. So right now is the time. We are living in the future, and we want the song to reflect that. And we want GE products, sprinkled throughout the attraction. So that's why they changed the song. When back when they redid Tomorrowland, I believe in the 90s, when it became the whole neon colors, and back in the 90s, they changed it. And when they added extraterrestrial, alien encounter, and the timekeeper and stuff, they rebranded Carousel of Progress to Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress.
Mm-hmm.
And they went back to the original song, to It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, or There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. And so now is the time, actually was retired. Although you can still hear it in the Tomorrowland music loop, that just in the music around the land, it's still in it's musical or instrumental. You can still hear that song, but they retired the song in the attraction. So there was two different songs. I'm growing up as a kid. That's the one I knew. So when I came back in the 90s and it was Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, before I knew the history of the attraction, I thought it was a new song. And I was like, no, where's Now's the Time? Not until I later did some research or watched some shows or whatever, did I find out that it was actually went back to the original song. So I'm glad you brought that up. But absolutely not. There's no way Carousel of Progress is on the top 10 worst rides or worst attractions in Walt Disney World. Anybody that put this on their list is a lunatic. You are crazy people. Carousel of Progress, absolutely one of the last things Walt touched. It was his idea from start to finish. And I even in the introduction, when you're in the first scene, that's just the logo behind the curtains and stuff, and the narrator talks about it. He talks about that being Walt Disney's love of America, and he wanted to show how the American family went through the 20th century following technology and stuff. So it's hard to hate something that Walt Disney physically touched. It's hard to hate that, except for It's a Small World. And the music's great. Does it need maintenance? Absolutely. These are some of the first animatronics, so they're a little stiff. You can tell they're robots. It's not like the Wicked Witch from the old
MGM
great movie ride.
Yeah.
That she was all very fluid and moved around a lot and stuff, looked natural. They are very herky-jerky on this Carousel of Progress. It could definitely use some love. I do not disagree with that at all.
Especially the last scene, as we've discussed before.
I would love to see the last scene get an update, bring in, Bluetooth and the internet and stuff like that, and even stuff that's in the future, electric cars and cars that drive themselves, whatever.
They probably would be sponsored by Amazon now if they still had that.
Dude, where you at, Elon Musk? You can sponsor that ride and that attraction, and we can talk about SpaceX or whatever. I have no problem with them updating it. Refurbish, not replace.
I think what happened is we stopped imagining what the future was going to be once we got to all those things, and now no one knows what to expect.
Here's the deal. The world has lost their mind. They don't even think about the future anymore. You know what they think about? TikTok. That's all it is. It's people like making.
That's the last scene. Hey, Grandma, what are you doing?
Yeah, we'll have Grandma doing one of those stupid TikTok dances. Oh my God, Tony, Edit
God.
that, remove that statement from this video. Do not give Chapek any ideas. You know Chapek is ready for a quick buck. He's going to get TikTok to sponsor it, and Grandma's going to do a TikTok video. Oh my God. Tony, you have just ruined the carousel of progress. What have you done? Oh my gosh.
Well, that's progress for you.
delete. That is no, forget what you just heard, listeners. Bob Chapek, we do not want TikTok in the last scene. Oh my goodness gracious. That's hilarious, Tony. That is hilarious. No, Carousel of Progress is not on the top 10 worst attraction at Disney World. You people have lost your minds. All right, so that's 3 no's. I think that's the first one we all agreed on. That's the first one. That's good. Absolutely not. Get out of there, Carousel of Progress. You were one of the best. Number 5, Ron and Tony, number 5. Staying in the Magic Kingdom, staying in Tomorrowland, the Tomorrowland Speedway. The Tomorrowland Speedway. They say it takes up too much valuable space. They say gas fumes, too many gas fumes in Tomorrowland. It's too loud. And why aren't we using electric cars? Why aren't we using electric cars? So Tony and Ron, I think we will go with Tony first this time. Is Tomorrowland Speedway deserving of the number 5 position on the TPMVids list of top 10 worst attractions in Walt Disney World?
Wow, number 5 is kind of harsh, but it's not really one of my favorite rides, so I don't blame it for being on the list. But for some of those reasons that you mentioned, it is that one seems kind of outdated to be in the middle of such a great and updated park. So yeah, I would keep it on the list. As far as number 5, I don't know. It sounds kind of harsh.
All right. So Tony says, yes, probably in the top 10 worst attractions. Maybe not as high as number 5, but probably on the top 10. All right. How about you, Ron? What do you think?
This list is nuts. No way do you take the Speedway Disney. Every classic show has the Speedway in it. It was the Speedway that I first rode, my first car.
That's true.
You don't take, no. If you want it to be electric cars, fine. I like what we're saying, refurbish, don't
replace.
I really do like where we're going with that. But no way. And the gas fumes are just part of the ambience of Disney. Give me a break. No, it's not on the list.
All right. So Tony says, yes, get rid of those gas guzzling go-karts. Ron says, no way. That's why I'm such a good driver now, is because I learned how to drive on the Tomorrowland Speedway. I'm going to look, call me Mr. Indecisive today or something. I'm on the fence again. When I was a kid, I remember being 11, 12 years old, whatever, and loving this attraction because, yes, you get to drive and that's super cool. Once you turn 16, or at least in Arkansas, where I grew up, you get your license at 16. I know it's 17 in other places. Once you drive a car, this is no longer fun. It's like, oh, good, I'm stuck in traffic. It's the same thing, right? So for like a decade or so, I didn't care for this ride. I didn't even, I walked by it every single time. And then I had kids. And then the kids are 5 or 6 years old. And I'm squeezing my 6'2" frame into those tiny cars. And I'm pushing the pedals because they're too short to reach the pedal. So they're driving and it's like, bam, they're hitting the rail, bam. And I'm like, drive straight, boom. And I'm pushing the pedal. It was great fun. I've got a video of me just getting the heck beat out of me. I'm videoing my kids and the video camera is bouncing and everything because they can't drive. Great memories from me as a kid. Great memories from when my kids were small and learning to drive, the go-kart there and doing it horribly. I think it has a place because of that. It has a place. It should stay because it's for kids. You know, it's not for adults to get on and have fun driving. It's for the kids to experience.
You know when it's kind of fun for adults? At night. If you've been on it at night, it's pretty nice.
I've been on it at night when the fireworks are going off.
And it's also fun to see the castle all lit up from the back and all
Absolutely.
that.
But also, and I'm probably the only one that has a grandchild at this point within this discussion. Dude, I'm not lying. I'm looking forward to the day. I remember taking Brooke and Madison on that track. I remember my trip on that track with my parents, and I am looking forward to taking Nyla around that track. And I think lots of people do this. This is one of the most surprising ones on. Well, they're all, honestly, most of them are big surprises to me, and I can't understand where these people are coming from. But this one is a big surprise to me that this is on the list.
Look, I can hear it now. Ron is on Tomorrowland Speedway with his granddaughter, and he's like, Nyla, you got to drive straight, honey. You're hurting Grandpa's back every time it hits the wall or hits the rail. Yes, he's looking forward to that. So that's
Yes,
awesome.
I am.
Absolutely. Look, hey, this is another one of those. What's the Tesla? Is that Elon Musk? He's Tesla,
Yeah.
right? Hey, Elon Musk, you could just sponsor Tomorrowland, because bring some Tesla branding to the Tomorrowland Speedway.
Well,
have electric cars, right?
And he's the one dreaming of tomorrow. He's making tomorrow reality.
Absolutely. So
what else you got in mind?
For real, throw some electric motors on these things. Elon Musk and Tesla can sponsor it. Boom, it's fun forever. You lose the gas fumes and all that stuff, and it's not loud anymore. Hey, what's that hashtag again? Oh yeah, refurbish, not replace. Yes, we just get rid of the gas guzzling go-karts, throw in those electric motors, have Tesla sponsor it. Boom, we're back in the 21st century with the Tomorrowland Speedway. I think that's what it's got to be done. Number 5 on the list, I don't think so. All right, number 4. I think we're all going to agree on this one. Well, let's see. Number 4, they have listed the magic carpets of Aladdin. Back still in Magic Kingdom, the magic carpets of Aladdin. So their list is, they don't like its location in Adventureland. It's too crowded in that area. And Disney World already has 3 what they call the spinner rides, 2 of which are in the Magic Kingdom. So you've got Triceratops Spin over in Animal Kingdom. Then you got, of course, the classic Dumbo. And there's 2 Dumbos now since the new Fantasyland about 10 years ago. And then you've got magic carpets in Adventureland. So Ron, you go first. What do you think? Is the magic carpets of Aladdin on your list?
So this one makes sense to me. I don't know if I'm starting to learn that I'm probably not a fan of worst list, but at least when it comes to Disney. But yeah, this one I can understand. It definitely is just a remake of Dumbo, except with a carpet. And I agree that area gets very crowded. I do like the camel that spits at you, though. I think that's kind of funny. And so this one I can see on my list, though. I will say that if you have a child that really wants on Dumbo, I've not been over by Dumbo since they've added the second Dumbo, because the lines used to be atrocious to get on Dumbo. So Aladdin was a simple fix. Not always. It's not Dumbo, right? So it's not, but it's a similar ride if you don't have time to wait for Dumbo. But yes, I definitely understand why this is on the list.
All right. So Ron says, yes, Magic Carpets of Aladdin can be on the top 10 list. How about you, Tony? What you think, sir?
I tend to agree with Ron. I think it does deserve to be on the list. I can see the reasons why it would be. Aladdin is one of my favorite movies, so it was always fun to see the theming. It was fun when it was first added. It was fun to see the characters hanging out around there. I think I like that experience more than the actual physical ride itself. I wasn't a fan of the camel because it kind of felt a little bit too real there. But yeah, I could see it being on the list.
All right, so I'm with you, Tony, on how great Aladdin is. That's probably my all-time favorite, at least classically animated or hand-drawn animation. favorite Disney movie is Aladdin. Absolutely love Aladdin. It's perfect from start to finish. The music is great. So it's great having an attraction based on Aladdin, but I wish it was a better attraction. It's just a spinner ride. Who cares? It doesn't belong in Adventureland. I think it doesn't have anything to do with pirates or with the Jungle Cruise or anything like that. Like those things, that's Adventureland. I get that. And Aladdin is a Fantasyland thing, right? I would think it would be more appropriate in Fantasyland. So I get that complaint. It's definitely too crowded there, right there in front of the Sunshine Tree Terrace. You can barely get your orange floats over there because of the lines for Aladdin. They really just slammed it into a tiny little spot, and that used to be a nice wide open walkway, and now it's a bottleneck.
Is it really crowded? Because I haven't, as I said, I haven't been in a long time, but I don't remember too many lines when I used to go.
It bottlenecks there because the spinner, the attraction itself is right smack in the middle, and then right across the walkway are those the tikis that play the drum sounds and spit the water at you and stuff, or I guess it's like a mist. So because of the people getting their pictures taken right there with those tikis and the magic carpet ride being here, it gets really bottlenecked in there, and it's pretty crowded. Magic Kingdom's always crowded anyway. It really does bottleneck there. And then you've got the stairs that go down to Jungle Cruise right there. And then you also have the entrance to Tiki Birds, to the Enchanted Tiki Room. So there's 3 attractions, and then the Tiki statues just boom, 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 right there all together. So it really does bottleneck there. So 3 yeses there, 3 yeses. All right. So number three on the list. Okay, everybody, focus your attention on Ron's face. This is going to be epic. Number 3 on the list of top 10 worst attractions in Walt Disney World. Mission Space. Mission Space. Wow. Number 3. You can look, everybody look at the smoke coming out of Ron's ears right now. Mission Space is number 3 on the list, Ron. Here's what they say. Too intense. We've talked about that. And the most valid argument of any argument ever in Walt Disney World discussions, it replaced the beloved Horizons. So, Ron, you are obviously going first on this one, buddy. What do you think? Is Mission Space number 3 on your list of worst attractions in Walt Disney World?
No, it's my number 1 attraction. This list is crap. They have my goodness. Mission Space allows you to experience space. No.
He's almost at a loss for words, and I'm over here laughing. I'm sweating. I'm laughing so hard, and Ron he's beside himself.
I am, because this ride is awesome, and if you're too weak for the intensity, then go on the green or the orange side and enjoy the awesomeness over there. But it breaks my heart that it's on the list.
Oh, I knew this was going to be awesome when I saw the list. I was like, man, Ron's going to lose his mind. So
it didn't hit me until when about halfway after you said watch Ron's face. And I'm like, no.
You could see it. You could see the realization on Ron's face, because when I said everybody look at Ron's face, he was like, this is interesting. I wonder what it. No, you could see his whole face change. You knew it was coming. He realized where I was going.
Yes.
So Ron, correct me if I'm wrong. That's a no from you. It should not be on the list, right? That's a no.
Absolutely shouldn't even have been considered, thought about for this list.
All right, Tony. How about you, sir? Is Mission Space number 3 on your top 10 worst Disney World attractions?
Absolutely not. I mean, even just by the show we did a couple of weeks ago where Ron described it, it certainly doesn't deserve to be on any such list. It sounds amazing. It sounds as if it's something that was thought through and created to create an experience that you won't get anywhere else. So no, I do not believe it belongs on this list.
All right, so there's 2 no's. Now here's what I think, guys.
Oh my
The
goodness.
problem.
Yo,
Relax, Ron. I'm not gonna tear apart your beloved mission space. I'm sorry, I called you Ron. Relax, Bam Bam. Dino land. So, so listen. Here's the problem with these lists. It's based on opinion and not fact. Okay, they're
fair.
basing it on, do they like it? Is it too intense for them? And they're not being objective. Let's talk about that for a second. Is this ride intense? Sure, it can be. It spins, it, claustrophobia may be an effect on some people. I get those things. But how do you compare a ride like, say, the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, which is literally just one of those things you can find at any state fair, anywhere. It just takes you up and you go around. And yeah, exactly. A redressed carnival ride. Exactly right. How do you compare that to one of the most expensive attractions ever created, one of the most technologically advanced attractions ever created? You got to separate, does it make me get a headache or does it make me feel nauseous, from is it a good or bad attraction? And what I think is a lot of people that put this on their list, they didn't make that distinction. They are like, it makes me sick, I hate it, it's on the list. And that's more opinion than it is looking at the facts. The fact is that this thing is super technologically advanced.
Yeah.
And it's whether you can ride it because you have heart trouble or high blood pressure, or you get nauseous or you're claustrophobic, whatever. None of that changes the fact that this ride is one of the most technologically advanced rides ever. And goodness gracious, in 2003, when it debuted, it was certainly the most advanced ride it had ever been built in the world.
When we were doing the prep for the show that we talked about Mission Space, and I saw the photos from it, and then I heard the description, I can't wait to go back to Epcot and check that out. And I was watching it with my wife. She never even made it to that area because she knew she wasn't going to be able to ride it. She saw the store. She said, oh, wow, we never even went in there. We never got to see the Space Mickey statue or anything near there. I mean, just the way it looks, just the experience that you get, even just being close to it, sounds fun.
and now you'll have a reason you can even go there to eat.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Space
That looks
220.
like a blast too. So no pun intended, but we definitely should not have this on the list.
You should take it for a spin.
Oh gosh. Hey Tony,
Spinning's a good trick.
when you create the video for this for YouTube, put a disclaimer, put like dad joke in 3, 2, 1, and then Ron goes, take it for a spin. That was a dad joke extraordinaire right there. Well done, Bam Bam. Well done. That was good stuff. Listen, Mission Space, we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on it. It's an amazing ride. Maybe you don't like it because it makes you feel queasy or something, but that doesn't take away from how good and how well themed the attraction is. The last thing I'll say is I agree completely with that it replaced Horizons. And I know a lot of people are disgruntled about that. This guy is on that list. I am disgruntled about that too. Refurbish, not replace. They could have put it somewhere else in Epcot Center and left Horizons and just refurbished Horizons. And then we'd have 2 amazing attractions. So I'm a little disgruntled too, but you can't be mad at Mission Space. It's not Mission Space's fault that Horizons is gone. So there's no way Mission Space gets on the worst attractions at Disney list. Ron, I'm not inclined to agree with you on anything ever. On this, we agree. It does not belong on the worst attractions list. So that's 3 no's for number 3. Mission Space, get off that list. All right, number 2, and this is going to be an easy one. We really just had this discussion already. It's another one of those redressed, I think you said, Tony, redressed carnival rides. Triceratops Spin. We just talked about it a minute ago in Aladdin. This is pretty funny. The description of why it was chosen. This is number 2 on the list. It says it's literally Dumbo with dinosaurs and worse views. And that's pretty accurate. It really is. So what do you think? We'll go with you first, Tony. What do you think about Triceratops Spin? I know how much you love Dino, not Dino, Dino Land. I know how much you love the Dino Land theme. We just talked about that, Tony.
Yeah. I think this goes along with my Dinoland theme feelings. I think it deserves to be on the list. It's not really my favorite, not my favorite section of the park, and nothing there that I didn't see any reason to even go on that.
So have you ever been on it?
I'm looking at a photo I have right now. I don't think so. I think I looked at that and said, well, you know, I used to go on those type of things when I was a kid. So no.
It's like, yeah, I wrote it when it was Dumbo.
I wrote it when it was in Coney Island.
All right. So Tony says, yes, it's on the list. All right. Bam Bam Rubble, what you got? Is this on your list?
Definitely on my list. I am in total agreement with Tony. Really, that whole area could be refurbished in my.
What's that area called?
Dino Land.
Yes, the whole Dino Land area. You think we can get rid of Dino Land?
Yes, I do. But yeah, this is just another. I too have never been on it because it's exactly the same. And now that they're taking that roller coaster out, let's just do away with the whole area. But
look, my kids used to go on this a lot because it was, you know, it's just like Dumbo. There was shorter lines here at Triceratops Spin than there was over at Dumbo. I know that we've been on this more than we have the Dumbo ride, especially when Dumbo was just one. But it's just another spinner. Who cares? It's you spin around in circles, but this time you're doing it in a Triceratops. Whoopity doo, you know, great. So yeah, we'll put it on the list. I'm okay with it being on the top 10. It really is. You can't see anything, at least when you're, especially now, or you know, when Dumbo was behind the castle, that was great views. But even now, with it down at the other end, down by the train station, in what used to be Mickey's Toontown, the double Dumbos, that sounds fun. You still get good views. You can still see the castle and everything, and you can see the Barnstormer and stuff. It's not bad views. You can't see anything here when you're on Triceratops Spin. You see the back of that big dinosaur, the one that you walk under, the entrance to Dino Land. Yeah. It's not great. It's on the list. I'm okay with it being on the top 10 worst attractions. All right. So that's it. Here we go. This is it. Insert drum roll here. The number one worst attraction in Walt Disney World, according to the TPMVids viewers, is Journey into Imagination over at Epcot Center. Journey into Imagination. So we're talking about the current incarnation, not the original. We're talking about the current incarnation. The reasons for it is, I can't say I disagree with, lacks actual imagination and innovation, which when we're talking about an attraction that's literally named Imagination, if it's lacking imagination, Houston, we have a problem. Poor maintenance. Here we go back to poor maintenance. Audio issues and stiff animatronic figment. So it sounds a lot like some of the complaints about Carousel of Progress, you know, with those maintenance issues and the audio issues, and then go back to the stiff animatronics. It's not a sophisticated animatronic. You know, you've got the one where it's in the sound room where Figment pops up and he's on the phone and where the train sounds come through. It's really stiff, and he just like, and his hand creaks up, you know, with the phone in his hand. I can't say I disagree with the complaints. Those are all true. So what do you think? Ron, we'll go with you first. Journey into Imagination. Is this on your top 10 worst attractions at Walt Disney World list?
So I've been on it. It's not a must-see by any stretch for me. Yeah, I really don't have a problem that this is on that list.
Is it number one? Is it deserving of number one on the list?
Well, the how they have these numbered are not in any shape. I mean, they have Mission Space at number 3. So I don't know that I agree with any of the numbers. I don't know that they have prioritized these with numbers. I hope not. But yeah, I don't have a problem. I have no emotional attachment to this ride. I don't have, it's not on. I'm fine with it being on the list.
Now, let me ask you a question, Ron, because I know that you went in 76 to Disney World, obviously just Magic Kingdom, then no Epcot Center. But you did go in 1982, I think. So in 82, the park opened in October of 82,
right?
But not everything was open then. I don't know that Journey into Imagination, the original, was open yet when you went. Have you seen or do you remember the original incarnation of Journey into Imagination?
Unfortunately, I don't remember. We definitely rode everything that was in the park and went through every pavilion, but I don't remember if that was there or not. I don't have recollection of it, so I tend to think that it wasn't, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, if you probably didn't go on it, it probably wasn't there, because if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it opened sometime after the New Year, sometime in early 1983 is when Journey into Imagination opened. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to look, but I think it was, a few months later. I know that they made that, they had to have something in the pavilion. So they actually made, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Have you seen the movie that they made that was basically them advertising for what was coming to Journey into Imagination? Because Kodak was mad. Kodak was sponsoring the pavilion, and they said, look here, Disney, you're going to have something open in that pavilion on opening day, or there's going to be trouble. So they knew that they were still short. They weren't going to have Journey into Imagination open. And at that time, they were still working on Magic Journeys, which was what was originally in the Magic Eye Theater, which is obviously where Captain EO and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience and all that was. But they didn't think Magic Journeys was going to be ready. So Kodak was like, look here, Disney, you better figure it out. We're sponsoring this pavilion. There's going to be something there. So they actually went, and the actor that portrayed Dreamfinder in Journey into Imagination, they threw together this really weird video. It's a movie. I think it was only like 6-7 minutes long. And it was basically him in his Dreamfinder costume, the big red beard and all that, running around Epcot Center saying, Journey into Imagination, it's going to be great, blah, 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 blah. It's, if you can find it on YouTube, it's kind of crazy. It's a weird video, but they just made it just so they'd have something in there as a placeholder until one of those other attractions was done, whether it be Magic Journeys or eventually getting Journey into Imagination open. And they literally flew the Magic Journeys tapes. Remember, back then it was on film. They've hand carried those from California to Epcot Center, and it was there on opening day. So they barely got Magic Journeys open. So they didn't use that crazy Dreamfinder running through the park video, but you could still find it. It's out there, and it's crazy. But so I can't remember exactly when Journey into Imagination opened. I want to say it was early 83. So you maybe didn't see it.
Yeah,
so
I did. Look,
and I'll save my comment until it's my turn, but we'll talk about that in a second. So my guess is that you don't have a love or a connection to Figment or anything from the original. So you're really kind of ambivalent to the current incarnation. So that makes sense. Although you don't have any comment, you're lost on the numerical placement of all of these attractions.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah.
All right, Tony. So what about you, sir? Are you all in on Journey into Imagination being number one on this list, or does it make your top 10 worst attractions at all?
It might make the top 10. I still don't know what would be number one. I think I know what would be number one, but it wouldn't be this. I think the problem with this is a lot of what they mentioned in your description of why they chose this. And I think that Figment has become such a big thing. He's now sort of the symbol of Epcot, perhaps the symbol of the old Epcot and the new, that he deserves a better attraction than this. I remember when I wrote it, I thought, well, they replaced it with this. It leaves a bad taste, especially if you remember the original one. It sort of, as you said, lacks imagination. It was interesting how they tried to tie it in with the Monty Python guy. I can't think of his name. Eric Idle.
Eric Idle.
Mm-hmm. Tying him in with the other imagination thing, the other movie that takes place with the 3D. Wasn't he also in that one?
He was in, if you remember, the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
That movie was, or film or attraction, whatever you want to call it, was about, what's his name? I can't remember. Rick Moranis' character in that movie. He was getting the Inventor of the Year award,
right?
And at this scientist convention or whatever. So Eric Idle is the
Imagination Institute was providing it to him, and so
Eric
they
Idle
sort of
was that guy.
So they tried connecting that with this ride, and I like Eric Idle otherwise, but it always seemed like he was kind of just jammed into this ride. I remember when I first went to Epcot back in '91. Seeing the Dreamfinder on that flying bike was amazing. You know, seeing any kind of animatronics for one was amazing, but seeing something like that was a figment of your imagination, and that was the theme that was going on. Whereas now it's like, here's some, if I remember correctly, here's some air, here's some noise, here's some lights, and what do you imagine? What are you seeing? Not quite what I think Figment could have evolved to. So I think, yeah, it probably deserves to be on this list. However, I think with some refurbishment and some rethought as to how important Figment is to a lot of people who grew up during that generation, they can come up with something better than this.
So absolutely. So this is actually the third version of that. Did either of you do the second one?
I'm pretty sure I did in '90s.
Just the original Journey into Imagination with Figment and Dreamfinder and all that, and it was amazing. It was I mean, everything. The queue was amazing, the architecture was amazing, everything was just, I mean, unbelievably creative. When they changed it in, I want to say, the early 2000s, and Figment was gone completely, and it was just that Eric Idle as the Imagination Institute, and with no Figment at all, and Disney fans lost their minds, almost like Ron when he realized number 3 on this list. So there was this huge like letter writing campaign and all this uproar about bring back Figment, and that journey into your imagination was very short-lived. It only lasted like 2 years, and then they closed it and kept the same premise. It was still the Imagination Institute. They just made it with Figment, and then they threw the Figment character in there. Obviously they really they shoehorned him in here. It wasn't anything, it was great to have him back, but it was nothing compared to the original. So for me, much like my opinion on the Living Seas versus the Seas with Nemo and Friends, if this had been the first incarnation of the ride, I would probably love it because it's Figment and he's fun and he's purple and he makes you laugh. But knowing what it was and knowing how special and truly imaginative the original was, this is just, it pales in comparison. With that said, I still enjoy it. It's usually a short line, 10 minutes or so. Sometimes it's walk on. So I don't miss it. I get on it nearly every single time that we go to Epcot Center. So I would not put it on my top 10 list of worst attractions. If I'm comparing it to the original, then it's night and day. There's no comparison. It is a far inferior attraction to the original Journey into Imagination, but it doesn't deserve to be on the top 10 worst attractions list. I don't think so. Does it need some refurbishing, not replacing? Absolutely. I would love for them to bring back some of that imagination and some of the, hey, where's Dreamfinder? He's been on hiatus for a while. I don't know. but we could bring them back. I'd have no problem with that. I would love it. They could fix it. They could refurbish it, but it's not number one on the list for sure. There's no way. There's definitely worse stuff at Disney World, worse than Journey into Imagination. So I think they got that one wrong. All right. So there you go. That was the TPMVids top 10 worst attractions at Walt Disney World. That was fun. Like I said, I love watching their content. The TPMVids channel on YouTube is lots and lots of fun content, good stuff. They do lists and things like that and highlight different things. I watch them a lot. That's one of my favorite YouTube channels. So definitely you guys check it out. Lots of fun. But that was a fun segment, guys. Thanks for working along, going through that top 10 list with me. Rod, I'm sorry, you're probably gonna go sit in a corner and cry for a little while with that number 3 Mission Space on the list. But you'll get over it.
It has no validation whatsoever. There's no.
Listen to the complete show on your favorite podcast streamer. Follow us on social media at WDW Reflections Podcast. See you real soon.